Good day, class. First off, as always, good day. Um, if you're watching this and you're in class, I do apologize. I can't be there because, as you can tell, I'm a little sick. So I'm going to try my best to talk as loud as I can, as clear as I can, and without any type of interruptions. Because, again, as you can tell, I'm not feeling very well. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So, the objective today, we're going to analyze the bills that President Johnson vetoed. If you remember from last class, he vetoed quite a bit of classes, or vetoed quite a bit of legislation and laws that the Congress wanted to pass. So, he's going to continue it. Okay. Now, we're going to examine whether Congress overstepped their authority or their power, which way you want to see it. And we're going to create an argument on whether President Johnson deserved to be impeached. Okay. All right. So here's your warm up picture. Now, remember I told you from several classes ago how President Johnson was a tailor. So if you look, you can see the needle and scissors and thread, you know, so they're kind of mocking there. But what do you think this artist is trying to say about him? Like, how does President Johnson view himself? Or what does he think he is? Things like that. So analyze the picture, look what's in his hands, look what's on him, things like that. And you should be able to come up with the conclusion. Okay. So go ahead, write your responses because we're moving on in three, two, one. All right. So February 19th, 1866, the Freedmen Bureau, they get their powers increased. Congress is able to give them more power. Now, what kind of powers do they get? Well, the biggest one they got was that the military could now hold trials on anyone who was depriving, African Americans from having their civil rights. Because there were some people that, even though African Americans were free, could vote, they were still suppressed. They were still not allowed to vote. They were basically still treated as second class citizens. And they thought, oh, well, I'm the sheriff of this town. I'm the congressman of this town. I can do whatever I want. And the military said, no, 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 you can't do that. And we are going to charge you. Now, Johnson, when he hears about this bill, what it does, he vetoes it, but then Congress overrides it. Remember, they get over that 2/3. So now it becomes law. Now the Freedmen Bureau gets even more power. And again, people are really starting to notice that anything that helps out African Americans, Johnson's against. Anytime that Congress votes on something, see, this is what uh, should be done in the South, Johnson vetoes it. Okay. And you're going to see a theme in this class, in this lesson. Okay. So the first Reconstruction Act divides the South into 5 districts, as you can see from this map on the side. Okay. A Union general is placed in charge of those districts, right? And their job is to maintain the peace and, here's a quotation, protect the rights of persons and properties. Now, here's the thing, if you notice, it doesn't say the properties and rights of African Americans, it doesn't specifically say them. It's for anyone, but the people who are really truly targeted and people who are truly attacked and have their rights suppressed are African Americans. Okay, so this thing is for everyone, but it's mainly for African Americans because they are the only ones being persecuted in the South. Now, the first Reconstruction Act, Johnson vetoes it again. He vetoes it, but Congress overrides him. Now, like I said, people are really starting to notice how Johnson is, and Congress is like, you know what? We need to put some restrictions on this guy. He thinks he's too chingon. He thinks he's too powerful. He thinks he's above everyone else. He's not doing what Lincoln would have done, you know? And that's what people were hoping for. So if you remember that warm up at the beginning when they showed him sewing the country, people were hoping he would do that. He would bring the country together, but it seems like he's trying to separate it. So Congress did 2 things. One, they put the Army Appropriations Act, which basically said that Johnson, the president, remember, he's the commander in chief, he's in control of the army. They're saying, no, 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 no. Johnson has to transmit his orders to the military. He has to say, this is what I want. Is this okay? And it's the commanding generals of Washington who would say, okay, yes, we agree with that. We'll do that. But if they don't agree with it, they don't have to do it. If Johnson said, take all the troops out of the South, you know, if the commanding generals felt like, no, we don't want to do that, they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to listen to an order by the commander in chief because, again, Congress didn't trust him. The other one was a tenure of office act. Basically, Johnson couldn't fire any cabinet members without Senate approval because a lot of the guys who were in the Senate, or sorry, in the cabinet, they were Lincoln's boys. These were guys that Lincoln chose, who Lincoln felt, hey, they're going to do, these are the best guys for each category. These are the guys who I could talk to, who I trust, and things like that. Even though some of them were political rivals, you know, as he was president, he gained their trust and he made them turn to his side, even though they were enemies. They didn't like him at first. He changed their opinions of him, and they were like, "Yeah, Lincoln's a dude. Lincoln had a great idea. Lincoln's a man." So now, to make sure that Johnson doesn't get rid of those guys, they put that tenure of office act. So now he can't fire them without the Senate saying, "Yes, okay, you have legitimate grounds to fire that guy." The second Reconstruction Act ensured that black men are able to vote. Okay, so it put more stricter laws saying that they cannot be, deprived of voting, they can't be suppressed or stopped in any which way. The third Reconstruction Act, voting rules in the South and allowed military to use force to remove state and local officials who tried to stop the Reconstruction process. So, like the Freedmen Bureau, giving African Americans clothing, food, if a local state official or whoever says, "Hey, you can't be here," "Oh, this is our land," this and that, they could say, "Yeah, we can be here. We're helping these guys out." "No, I don't want you here. You guys can't do it. They need to fend for themselves." They could say, "You know what? We're going to charge you." Or if there's African Americans who are trying to vote, uh, let's say a city mayor stops them from voting. The military can come in and remove them by force and arrest him and things like that. So that's the kind of power that the Reconstruction Act had. The thing is, though, on both of these, the second and third Reconstruction Act, Johnson vetoed it. But of course, on the flip side, what happened? Like I told you in the beginning, common theme. Both of them were overruled. Both those vetoes were overridden by Congress. Okay, so anytime Johnson says no, Congress gets enough votes to say yes. All right, so August 5th, 1867. Remember, Johnson knows he has the Restriction Act on him, the 10-year Restriction Act. He can't fire anyone, so he asks Secretary of War Edwin Stanton, "Hey, can you resign? Can you just basically quit?" Stanton says, "No, I'm not going to quit. Why? Why would I quit?" So, August 12th, a week later, he suspends him. Says basically that, hey, he's not doing his job, he's not doing it right. Uh, I'm not going to fire him, I'm going to suspend him. And he replaces him with Ulysses S. Grant. Now, some people in the cabinet were like, well, if you're going to replace Stanton with somebody, Grant is like the next best guy because Grant's a Civil War hero. He's the general who led and defeated against Lee. So, yeah. Now, about 5 months later, uh, the president then informs Congress, like, "Oh yeah, yeah, Stanton, yeah, he's suspended. Yeah, he's replaced by General Grant. Yeah, if you guys were wondering why you don't see him around, that's why. That's why you haven't seen him around for the past 5 months. It's because I suspended him." Now, in about a month, Grant basically tells Johnson, "You know what, dude? Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it. But the thing is, I can't do this job anymore." So he quit, and he basically told Stan, "Here's your job back." And this infuriates President Johnson. So about little over a month later, Johnson fires Stanton. Now again, he knows he really can't do it without Senate approval, but he doesn't care. He fires him. 3 days later, the House of Representatives gets together and files charges of impeachment against President Johnson for violating the Tenure of Office Act. Now, here's the thing: impeachment is not just if you get impeached, that's it, you're fired. No, 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 no. Impeachment is the charges of misconduct done on a political official saying, yeah, you did something wrong. You broke the law in some way or another. Okay. It's the formal charges. Now, if the impeachment process is confirmed, if the charges go, then it goes to the Senate. And when the Senate votes, if they're found guilty or innocent, that's another thing. If they're if they're found guilty, that's when they're kicked out of office. And they can't have any government job afterwards. Nothing. Not even a city councilman. Nothing that deals with the government. So May 16th, the Senate votes and the impeachment trials charges fall one vote short. Just one vote. One person, if they would have said, yeah, you know what, he is guilty, that would have made it so that Johnson's the first president to be impeached, but he doesn't. To be fully impeached, charged with and everything, but he doesn't. One vote short. So Johnson feeling like, man, I got this. I'm Mr. King. I can do whatever I want. So the next election comes up, and he's like, all right, guys, tells his political party, I'm ready to run again. And his political party looks at him and goes, no, no, we don't want you anymore. We don't want you to represent us because you suck. You don't believe in what we believe in. We believe what Lincoln believed. So we don't want you. All right, so here's my question to you guys. Do you think a president who takes over for a president who has died or has been killed should be allowed to put their own people in their administration? Or do you think, like, no, 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 that, you know, you're only there because that president died. The people who he appointed, they should be still there. Or do you think, no, 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 hey, that president died, this new guy coming in, everything falls on him now. He should have people he thinks could do the best job. So where do you fall in that category? Should the president who takes over a president who died, should they be allowed to pick their own new people or keep the old ones? What do you think? Okay. So once you've written this down, that's it. All right. So be sure you do the vocab. Um, I'll give you guys 4 words this time because I'm sure a lot of you guys probably didn't even listen to this video. So you probably just skipped. So you probably have plenty of time. So I'll give you 4 vocab words. Make sure you get those done. Also, your research paper. You should have gotten it, but it's not with the things for your notes. I just want you to look at the names and pick one person from each category. Okay, one person from each category. Like put a star, highlight it, something, and then look them up on Google. Do not look at Wikipedia. Okay, but look at websites devoted to these guys, devoted to the outlaws, devoted to the lawmen, devoted to the Native Americans. Um, Especially ones that are specifically devoted towards that one person. Those can have the best information because that's where a lot of research was done. Okay, so uh, again, once you're done with this, you're good. All right, so go ahead, get started with all that work. All right, I'll try to be back as soon as I can, guys. Sorry about that. Went so far without coughing. So you guys, you take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later. Okay.